everyone, I'm Manna. I currently don't have any cats with me. They're in the room. They're just behind the dresser sleeping currently. So, um, Loki and Arya might come out while I'm recording. They might not. They've decided that it's nap time currently after spending the last 2 hours flying around the room. But they are doing really good. They are hanging out in here because we had to rearrange some furniture in Boyo's office recently, so we moved them in here to keep them from getting stepped on. And last night they stayed in here while I was sleeping, and I woke up this morning to Arya curled up against my chest, being super cute, and my heart can't take it. Can't take it. Too cute. Anywho, when we last left off, we got media attention on the forest, where the loggers almost killed the scientists, and we got our rite of passage. So now when we transform, our clothes do not get destroyed. Not sure how that works, but I'll take it, I guess. So yeah, I think we're about 90% of the way through, I think is what it said. 8? So yeah. We might finish it today. We'll see. So yeah. Yeah. We'll just jump back into it. Also, I'm using the face cam again for the first time in forever because I'm actually feeling up to it. And I feel like you can see more when the kittens are out rather than just the bed and the cat tree. I feel like you can see more of the room and where their shenanigans may be getting up to. So let's go ahead and jump back in. Chapter 6, The Storm. Start the chapter. Dust to dust. It was one of those blistering summer days when the asphalt melts, the grass withers, and the air smothers those brave enough to step outside. Despite the heat, it felt like the whole village was at the funeral. I felt concerned. We're at a funeral? Whose funeral are we at? I stood there, surrounded by sweaty bodies, looking at the rosaries they clutched in their fists. There was nowhere to run. One of the hunters had been found dead near the place of power. Nobody knew exactly what had happened to him. There were whispers of rabid wolves. It was our doing. We killed somebody? Who did we kill and not take care of? It was our doing. My doing. And the death had tipped the scales. Since the deaths, I started seeing shadowy figures. I read that really weird. Since the deaths, I'd started seeing shadowy figures, their faces flickering in the corner of my eye. Were they just figments of my imagination, or my own pack of hungry spirits following me, waiting for my mistake? I could feel the tension seething around me. This dead, this funeral had pushed the community. Already weary and frightened by the recent disappearances in the forest, yet the world was watching. Is this the body that we buried in the weird thing that opened up in the ground? Like, who is this? The press had swarmed to the funeral like flies. They were reporting on how the illegal logging was a danger to both the ecosystem and human lives. The police were watching the crowd with disinterest as they leaned lazily against the tree. It had become political. Suddenly, Pushcha Balwazia, Iwoveza, Vezka, okay. Anywho, one of the last and largest remaining parts of the, okay, yeah, we've read that before, had become politically charged and the hottest place to be in Poland. And it wasn't only local politicians and activists from both sides who'd caught wind of the commotion. The Minister of Environment himself had driven to Białowieża to attend the funeral. He was standing next to the priest, conducting the ceremony, surrounded by police and what looked like a handful of bodyguards. The coffin went down and the crowd stirred. Everyone started lining up to throw a handful of dust on the coffin or put flowers on the grave. I felt someone joining me. Just look at them, said Lisa, joining me. Nobody wants us here. They fear us, but would never admit that. Ignorance bred fear. I couldn't blame them. I mean, we did kill the guy, so I really can't blame them. Who could blame them? I shrugged. Since we started the protest, people have been disappearing. They would want us gone even if we weren't the Garoon, she scoffed. From the outside, we're activists fighting for the Pushtia. But for the local, we're just strangers barging in and telling them what to do with their lives. But we just knew better. We were exactly that. We had to give them time. We had to give them time. They just need time to get used to us, he said. The problem is not going to disappear and finally they'll join us. Nevertheless, she was right. The crowd was not happy seeing us there, and the minister knew how to use that sentiment. I listened in disbelief. I watched in disbelief as the priest handed him the mic. After 30 seconds of listening to that pompous ass, I thought I would vomit. He repeated some platitudes, but it was clear he'd only come to show his face and tighten the leash on the local logging companies. The crowd listened, silent. Trying to escalate, it was our move. It was also our doing. It was our move. I realized the conflict was only going to escalate. But they didn't realize a proposal to stop the logging was already being discussed in the EU Parliament. Victory was within our grasp. We were ready to defend ourselves. We were ready to negotiate. Let's go with negotiate. Let's negotiate. Where there's a will, there's a way. It was high noon. The sun was at its most merciless, and the world was almost white with heat. The air smelled of herbs, bark, and tree sap. Insects buzzed lazily in the high grass, stunned by the summer sun. We were setting up the protest. The day was stifling as we set up the protest. The whole clearing was decorated with banners, and we all had our placards. The banner we hung on the National Park headquarters the week before was just a warm-up. Wood is the enemy of the forest was our main slogan, but there were many more. My sign conveyed my anger. I wanted to protest against greed. I wrote something constructive. Yeah, let's be constructive. I feel like that's a good approach for protests is yes, I am angry about the state of the world, and I have been to a lot of protests, but I feel like whenever I make signs, they have to be constructive, because just throwing anger on a sign doesn't feel productive. I remember when I was little going to pickets where my mom worked, because my mom was a nurse, and back then she got mandated a lot. And so she would leave early in the morning, get mandated, and then wouldn't get back till late at night, and then have to go into work again the next morning. And so there were times where I didn't see my mom for a week at a time. And I remember going to these pickets as a kid holding a sign that says, "Today's my birthday and my mom's at work." Or my mom's been mandated or something like that. So that feels constructive to me. And also a little stabby stab. Feel sympathy for the nurses, you dicks. Yeah, that was when the mandate rules finally changed, it was so nice to be able to actually see my mom and be able to interact with her. It's yeah, we would go an entire week without seeing her. And then when she was home, she was so damn tired, she could barely keep her eyes open. And so, of course, we didn't want to bother her. We wanted to let her rest. Yeah, so, yeah, no, I've been doing this for a while. Thanks, Mom. I wrote something constructive. Make the whole Pushka a national park, demanded my sign. I still don't know if I'm saying that correctly. So, if somebody who speaks Polish could correct me on how to enunciate that, I would appreciate it. I don't always want to be right, but I do always want to be correct. So if I am saying something wrong, please correct me. I will not be mad at being corrected. If I'm wrong, please correct me. It was a viable solution. was a viable solution, I thought. The whole Pusha would be protected, and people could still earn money on tourists. There were so many of us. People kept coming to the camp, asking questions, looking for ways to help. Students, activists, even Greenpeace with the banners reading "Stop Logging" and "Respect EU Law." The Pusha was watching us. Pusha is friendly. Yay! The Pusha was watching us. Every time a gust of wind was bringing the wet smell of the forest to my nostrils, I felt her strong, steadfast presence. She knew that we were doing everything in our power to save her. I felt the forest's presence. I could feel the immense presence of the forest, whose life was a myriad of smaller lives interconnected into one superorganism. And then I looked at us and them and smiled bitterly, because I realized that both sides of the conflict saw the others as the sickness and themselves as the cure. The pressure was almost palpable, and tempers were flaring. Cops were gathering. I look at my pack. I'm going to look to my pack. I turned the volume down on my end. That's cool. We were playing Peak the other day, and I couldn't hear the people I was playing with, and now I'm blowing out my own eardrums. Good job, me. Looked at my pack. A little loud. Everyone knows what to do? Olga asked, looking at my pack. I'll keep the security guards occupied, nodded Lisa. And I'll guard the Pusha's perimeter, growled Daniel. He glanced at the weasels. The weasels were in their positions among the protesters, as agreed. That left the cops to me. We should just kill them all? No, let's not do that. Kept my eyes on them. Okay. Wasn't too late to negotiate. Let's keep our eyes on them. I'll keep my eyes on the cops, I said. And we'll make sure that the activists are safe. Yeah, that's the plan, Olga nodded with a bitter expression. The cops were gathering. Police is neutral. The police were nervous, huddling in groups and shouting at each other and everyone who was in the way. Something was up. It was apparent that they were waiting for something. Then it reached boiling point. Reached the boiling point when the minister arrived for a photo op. Had a bad feeling at all. We'd attracted some attention. We could use that. We could use that to our advantage. 100%. I took it as a good sign. We could use his presence to our advantage in more ways than one. Calmed down slightly. Press is sympathetic. I knew he was in for a nasty surprise. The reporters closed in on him, shooting uncomfortable questions about the legality of the logging and his forestry policy. In hindsight, you could argue that what happened next set a chain of events in motion that had life-changing consequences for many. But it all started earlier. Change didn't happen just like that. But at that moment, I didn't know what. The change didn't happen just like that. Yeah, change doesn't happen immediately. It takes time. There's this notion that change is sudden. Movies and video games would have us believe that it takes one moment, one decision, one knock-on effect to turn the tide. But the world doesn't work like that. It works like a forest, like the Pusha. Change is like growth. Yes, it is. Change is a slow, barely visible process. A series of decisions, yes, but also coincidence. Of chances being taken and people doing what they can to survive. Change is like growth. And we had grown. The members of my SEP had already moved to their position. And I also had my part to play. The minister was bad news. It was our chance to start negotiations. We could still ask him to stop. Negotiations. Olga raised her eyebrow. If you think there's any sense in talking to them, she smirked. Now's the fucking time. She grabbed me by the elbow and literally dragged me across the clearing to where the minister and his people were standing. I've got this, followed her. Thought about what to say. Yeah, think before we speak. As we were pushing through the crowd, I planned what I was going to say. I was pretty confident. I had it all planned out and felt quite confident. But Olga had her own plans. Minister, Minister, she yelled. Do you have a moment to talk about what's really going on in the forest? Caught his gaze. He looked at us coldly, like we were vermin. His eyes were distinctly dark and lifeless, like a shark caught suddenly. No, he said, smiling. We don't talk to terrorists. Pitch, excuse you? I put my hand on Olga's shoulder and felt how tense she was. Her muscles vibrated, resisting the chain. It's not worth it, I whispered. We'll find another way. Went back to regroup. I'm sorry, but hanging up signs is terrorism? Well, then I'm a fucking terrorist, guys. Fuck. Fuck. Goodness. The activists, humans and werewolves alike, listened as we told them what happened. The atmosphere was tense. We started our preparation. Yes, if hanging up signs is terrorism, boy howdy am I a fucking terrorist, guys. Just saying. We started our preparation. We prepared ourselves for the worst case scenario. Okay, let's move, I heard someone shout. Move it, people, move it. You know what to do. And they did. There was a lot of laughter and friendly pushing, chains clinking, and some people darted up the trees to seat themselves in the branches. I was assigned to the human chain, but I had other plans. I feel like I should do this because I am the urge. I don't know. Someone correct me on that one too, please. Yeah, I've impaired my willpower. It's fine. Me, Lisa, and the wolf mother snuck away to talk to some nature spirits. I was starting to get the hang of the whole spirit reflection thing. We planned a surprise. Is it cake? I'm proud of my portal reference. Shut up. We had a surprise for the minister, and I couldn't wait. Of course, took some bargaining. The Pusha was with us. I was determined. I paid the price. Like, blood? I accidentally right-clicked for a second and thought it was going to pick it for me. I'm going with Pusha. I don't like to get my blood involved, thank you. But we could feel the presence of the Pusha supporting us. And, what was more important, all the lesser spirits also felt it. Lisa nodded with satisfaction. 15 minutes later, we watched as he got into his car and tried to drive away. But the road wouldn't cooperate. It was spectacular. It was work. We were very subtle. It was spectacular. They slammed to a halt like they'd hit an invisible wall. All their airbags exploded. White smoke burst from under the hood, and the alarm went off. Spectacular. They staggered away from the vehicle, bloodied and humiliated. We had the minister where we needed him. It worked. Wasn't exactly what I had expected to be spectacular, but okay. The talk started there and then. I could see that the minister was an apt politician and that he could smell a deal for himself in it all. But I didn't really care. We'd gotten what we'd wanted. We started to talk. Okay, we started to talk. Peace talks. Beautiful. When the talk started, we weren't alone. After the live stream with the Beatles, the loggers had attracted a lot of negative press. People had been moved and had started coming to our camp looking for ways to help out. So we started talking, and it became big. I don't know what tipped the scales in the end. The press, the international attention, the local interests coming together, our passion. Talks weren't easy. Finally, an agreement was within our reach, but the talks weren't easy. The state forests, woodworkers, the local population, ecologists, scientists, activists, everyone wanted something. At least we had the upper hand. Look, my willpower is back. Stop the logging. Beautiful. At least we managed to trick the loggers into cutting trees in a strict reserve. And the footage we captured gave us an upper hand. I was by no means an expert, but I wanted to play my part in the proceedings. During the negotiations, I made sure the talks were fair. I acted behind the scenes. Yeah, let's act behind the scenes. I'm usually behind the scenes anyway. I kept out of sight and acted behind the scenes. There was a lot of uncertainty, and I hoped my spiritual approach would help to keep the hope alive. The talks went on and on. Of course, I had my opinions. Everyone at the scene had their own opinion and their own point of view, and I had mine. Let's take the bark beetle. In the middle of it all was, of course, the spruce bark beetle. How could something so small cause such a gigantic uproar? The beetle had always been a part of the forest ecosystem, pointed out one of the ecologists, but the recent droughts made the spruce more susceptible than ever, the foresters countered. We have to cut down the trees to stop a total disaster. I saw one problem with this approach. Don't trust the officials. They cut the wrong trees. Pusha would manage. They cut the wrong trees. Oh, there went my willpower. It's fine. They were cutting down trees that had already been dead. To stop the spread, they'd have to target trees that were freshly infected. Their approach was just ineffective. You fetishize the forest, scoffed one of the officials. People cultivated it for hundreds of years, and it cannot survive without our help. He's right. You want to take our forest from us? A group of locals attacked the activists. You're not from here, and you tell us how to live our lives? It was not just a forest, yet they unbalanced the ecosystem. I can see their point. They unbalanced the ecosystem. The problem was that human intervention unbalanced the ecosystem, and if they pushed it any further, they'd lose all that made the Pusha unique. Opinions clashed, tempers flared, but eventually new constructive ideas started to emerge. At least one of them caught my attention. The whole area should be a national park. International observers could help. Winning the local populace was essential. International observers could help. Please help. Please help us. There was a proposition to form a committee of international observers, scientists and foresters, to make sure that the logging was targeting the spruce bark beetle problem only. It was a long and hot day. I rubbed my eyes. I was so tired I could barely keep them open. My head was spinning. But I kept going. What was a little heat stroke when so much was at stake? The talks continued. Of course, they had to make it dramatic. There were cameras, there were lights, and the negotiations lasted all day long. We reached the first draft of an agreement, literally at sunset. I had no doubts they'd only decided to stop the logging because they realized there was something in it for them. I felt relief. But at the moment, I just looked at the sky and laughed. I felt overwhelming relief. And then my exhaustion caught up with me. I found a quiet spot, sank to the ground, and fell asleep. Ow, my sternum just cracked. Well, shit, that's the end of that chapter. I guess we'll go ahead and do the epilogue, because we're only 25 minutes in, so we might as well do the epilogue. Start the chapter. Because I don't think the epilogue is going to be long. It normally isn't. A New Hope. I never thought it would end like this. The humans surprised me. Yeah, sure, the humans were important, but they were the problem we needed to solve, not the problem solvers. And yet, in the coming weeks, they proved to be just that. They had plans for education, for patrolling the forest, for making a permanent camp near Biwalvasia. Felt cheated of my victory. Didn't know how to process it. Relieved. I would feel relieved. It wasn't the war Olga had talked about, but it was good. There was hope. There was still hope, and I felt relief. Relief, not relieved. Context. The logging had stopped. Yay, we did it! It was quiet. The logging had stopped, and I was proud I'd had a hand in it. I talked with people, listened to their ideas, and shared their enthusiasm. We planned, we joked, we laughed. At some point, I found myself sitting near an old local woman. She smiled at me, all wrinkles, missing teeth, and bad attitude. Share water. Let's share our water. So, you're the young Rhodey. I have no idea. People have been talking about, she said when I shared my water with her. Yeah, I answered, unsure of what would happen next. She laughed. I was a little worried when I first heard about you. I mean, goddamn werewolves always make such a mess. Knew about us? What does she mean by always? Play it cool. Let's play it cool. What are you talking about? I asked, trying to play it cool. Don't try that with me, young lady. I knew your grandpa when he was young, she winked at me. The problem is you're always looking for another glorious battle, she scoffed. But I wanted battle, so what? Were we useless? Yeah. So we're useless? I sighed. Don't be stupid. You act on impulse like children or animals. When you want to do something, you just do it, she laughed. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. She smiled at me. But this time, you managed to actually help do something good. We'll see what happens next. Smile! Because that feels good. I smiled, satisfied. Time would tell if she was right. The crossroads. We gathered in the clearing in which I'd first woken up as a Garou. Lisa stood in the middle of the clearing, the wolf and the weasel by her side. Now, she said, looking at Cornell and Olga, you two. You need to solve this. Today. Olga nodded. There was determination in her eyes. Didn't always agree with you, Cornell, she said. But we could use your skills right now. That night we voted. That night we planned the future. That night was long and full of hope. Olga tried to keep the sept together. Olga talked with Cornell and Kim and Kat for a very long time, trying to convince them to stay in Białowieża. They weren't fond of the idea. Watched them go, went with them. Well, I'm just gonna stay here with my patron. Kim neutral. Oh, Kim gone. Pat gone. Cornell gone. Okay. I watched them go. Olga approved of my decision. Lisa and our patrons made sure that we did right by Garou law, and the sept matters were resolved. But more had happened that summer. But it didn't cover everything that had happened that summer, though, so some consequences would have to unravel with time. Anya and Bartek were still alive. Despite everything that had happened, Anya and Bartek were still alive. They had a summer fling they would both remember with a smile. We would disappear from each other's lives slowly, our paths too different to keep up with each other. But it was all still ahead of me. For now, the first chapter of my new life was coming to an end. Are we gonna call our mom and tell her? Or are we just gonna disappear? I'd come there because of the forest. I understood the forest. I'd come to Białowieża to learn about the forest, and now I knew it. I was part of it, protector and its weapon. But I loved the Pustya, and I knew she was watching over me. Firefly. Your story is almost over. This might be a good time to take the last look at your character sheet. I guess we'll do that. Boop! Maya Mist Oroditch, 24, student, American. Freed Homid. Auspice Theruge. I don't know. I'm a shaman. Rank Plaith. A young Garu not yet of any significant rank. Fair. Children of Gaia, Morning Wolf Mother. No glory, a little honor, a little bit of wisdom. Healthy. People were scared to talk about whatever connected my family to the forest. They didn't even want to hear the name. Oh. Okay. Managed to stop logging, earn glory, honor, and wisdom, make your own legend, pursue to regain willpower. Morning Wolf, loyal. Winter Weasel, cautious. Anya, loyal. Bartek, sympathetic. Daniel, cautious. Family, it's still complicated. Gone, neutral, gone. Friendly, neutral, sympathetic. Okay. Late that night, I was sitting with my back against a tree, older than the country I was born in, watching the stars. They moved. They were moving, dancing around me. It was only after a moment that I realized they were fireflies. I watched the bugs glowing with their inner light, writing fleeting love poems on the dark vellum of the night. Watched them with a smile. I smiled, thinking about their brief, beautiful, intense lives. Then I stood up and went back to our camp. We still had so many important things to do. The end. You have finished Heart of the Forest. Cubs, gather around the fire and listen to the story of Mia Boroditch, known among the Garu as Mist of the Children of Gaia, Theurge of the Morning Wolf Mother, Pack. She was wise and her prophecies accurate. I prophesized anything? Okay. Maya managed to negotiate a fragile peace and stop the harvesters. The change had begun. The first protests against the logging of the Werewolf forest took place in 2016. The game was loosely inspired by those events. All characters and events depicted in this game are entirely fictitious. Didn't even realize it was based off of real events because I've never heard about them. Ah, Jesus. Why is that the picture we gotta go with? Our pack, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest, has been designed and developed by different tales. Good music. Oh, yeah, my camera is covering. Let me just flip this real quick. That way we're not blocking the credits. Music. I have no idea what's being said. I assume it's in Polish. But it's good. I like it. Safe World. Rosie Clutch. Nice. Folk band. Okay, maybe that's what the song is? I don't know. Pretty cool though. Oh, I gotta click the button. Duh. I was just vibing with the music. weird having to click on credits to make them progress. Oh, we're starting the song again. Okay, that's fair. World of Darkness brand team. Yeah, because World of Darkness was the same people who did the Vampire the Masquerade visual novels. I want to do more of those. Copyright 2020. There's another game that came out after this in 21. Unity Engine, beautiful. Part of the Force has been written in ink. Okay. I'd like to check that out. Back to main menu. Alright, well. Ladies, gentlemen, and other, that is the end of our story. For now. There's another game after this. Can't think of the name of it. But there is more, and I would definitely like to check out more of it. I'm going to try to go through my Steam library and knock out the visual novels I have in there that I've never played before, because I think I have a handful, before I buy new ones and play more. I don't own the next game in this series. This was on sale, like, for super cheap, and I thought it looked really good, so, yeah. I think I also bought this for Boyo, but I'm not sure that he is going to enjoy it the same way that I do. He might. I don't know. He might do it on stream sometime. But I did buy it for him since it was so cheap, so we shall see if he plays it. But yes, so, as the end of our story here with Maya, come back next week to see what we do, I guess. I haven't decided. You would think that I would think ahead, but I don't. I just don't do that for some reason. So yeah. Yeah, that's the end. I definitely recommend trying it out for yourself, because your playstyle is probably going to be different from my playstyle. So you'll probably get different outcomes for decisions and get a different ending from what I got. So yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a good game, and I look forward to playing the next one and whatever else they come out with, because that was enjoyable. Until then, I'll see you guys later. Kittens are doing good. They're still napping. I'm sure as soon as I stop recording, they'll come out and start playing again. So, with that being said, I will see you guys later, and remember to do something nice for a stranger today. You just might save a life. Bye!